Hey, here we go. We're live and on just after 8:30 on a Monday morning. And what are we here live for? We're here live for the property finance Q&A. It's pretty much it does what it says on the tin thing, really. I answer questions on property finance, and I'll tell you a little bit about the property finance related events that I've been to or are setting up. So there we are. It's going to be got some interesting stuff to share this morning. But and if you're watching this live, amazing. And if you didn't catch it live, because hey, people got other things to do on a Monday morning at about 8:30. Well, no worries. You can watch the replay. If you're watching the replay, hi. Give us a hashtag replay so I know you watched it. That'd be really good. So what do we do here? What we do is I hop on here for probably about 30 minutes. Sometimes it was more. Last week it was a bit of a marathon session. We were probably up to about an hour, really. But why would I spend an hour going out live answering questions about property finance predominantly? And it's questions that people want to know. So if you're coming in through YouTube, or you're coming in through LinkedIn, or even one of my two Facebook pages, then hi, morning. How you doing? Have you still got snow? No snow in Lincolnshire, and hasn't been for about a week now. But have you got snow where you are? Part of the country that got hit a bit harder than we did here. I don't know. So I'm going to tell you about last Saturday, because we were down in Heathrow, and hey, there was no snow down in Heathrow last Saturday, and in fact, it was really cold, crisp, but very sunny. So I'm here to answer questions on property finance. If you've got questions, pop them in the box, and they'll come up in my chat box, which is over there for me, and we'll see. It's a bit of a lucky dip each week, because I never know what questions are going to come up. And hey, I like that spontaneity. I like not knowing what questions people are going to ask about property finance. I'd rather that than something scripted. There's a place for scripted training. I do loads of it. If you're on my YouTube channel, there's hundreds probably of videos all about that. But there we are. Trusty cup of tea at the ready. There we are. Always good to sip on. So yeah. What do you want to know? What do you want to know about property finance? And then just let me know. And if you like what you know, give me a like. So there we go. Now, what we got coming up? We've got 4 events coming up. BRR Boardrooms. Let me tell you a little bit about those. I'm going to tell you what happened last Saturday as well, and that's really interesting. Did a pitch-free networking day, and had 2 amazing mentee case studies that I interviewed, Paul and Nilesh. So I'm going to tell you about those before we wrap up today. What are BRR boardrooms, you might think? And what I'll tell you about these BRR boardrooms, got a question about property finance, or even a question about these BRR boardrooms, whack it in the chat and I'll answer it. So BRR boardrooms, or buy, refurb, refinance, is still the most critical information you need to learn to fulfill your potential in property. If you don't really master that, you're never going to do as well as you could otherwise do. So that's a key thing. How do I know about it? Because I've been brokering BRR deals, buy, refurb, refinance deals for over 20 plus years, and training people on it for over 5 years. But when we're running 4 events, starting on next Sunday, actually, or this Sunday coming, 18th of January in Cardiff, the following weekend in Leeds and Birmingham, and finishing up in London on Saturday the 31st, and then we wrap up, and I won't do any more till June. So if you don't book on one of those, you'll never know. And you got nearly 6 months to wait until you can find out that information again in that format. So maximum 10 people per event, very intimate. So I get lots of time to focus on your stuff. There's a link down there, brrboardroom.com. So we'll tell you about that. So we got someone coming in from LinkedIn. Here we go. So we'll go with a question. So morning, Kev. Good morning. Now it says LinkedIn users. LinkedIn have started being a bit tighter, I've noticed, in terms of identifying people. So I think you should have to click something that allows your name to be posted when you go off of LinkedIn. So it's an external third site. I think that's the issue. There we are. But I'll drill down and find out who that is later. Or you can even just pop your name in separately. So I know that was having the trouble. But there we are. Morning, Kev. If you buy 4 properties to develop in an SPV within another limited company, okay. So your limited company, another limited company coming together to form a separate company for the development of these properties. Okay, yep, got that. And then you wish to split up when refurbed. It's Mel. There we go. I didn't read that. Sorry, Mel. Got you there. I just read the bottom there. Hi, Mel. Good to see you. Do you pay stamp duty again in your own limited company on the new GDV? So I think the question is, are you going to sell them to a different limited company, or are you going to keep them in the existing limited company? That I think is the question. So if you're going to sell them, now this is a tax question, and I'm not a tax specialist, so let's get that clear straight from the off, Mel. So you need it's a question to, and don't be asking solicitors this question, because they collect stamp duty on behalf of HMRC, but they're qualified in law and not tax. So don't expect them to be the authority on it. They just are the reciprocal. Can't think of the word on that now. But they're the people that actually implement HMRC's government's tax collection, but they just interpret it themselves. So what you really want is a tax specialist. Now, when you get in the Ninja 100 Club, you'll have access to one of the best tax specialists in the country, on speed dial, really. But until that time, if you buy and sell a property into a different company, my understanding is that you pay stamp duty, yes, because it's a sale. Now you could mitigate the stamp duty by on half of them, let's say. Now, do you and the other limited company, do you want to keep all 4? So do they want to keep all 4, or do you want to keep? Do they want to keep their 2 and you want to keep your 2? Because if that's the case, well, you could mitigate the stamp duty by just selling 2 to one of you, and then the other one that's left with the other 2 properties, you keep them in your limited company in this new SPV. So one party retains 2 properties in the SPV, and the other party that's paid stamp duty on the properties relinquishes the shares in the SPV. So that way you'd only pay stamp duty on 2 rather than 4. And of course, if you want to sell 2 and keep 1 each, then you don't pay stamp duty at all on the ones that you sell. So there we are. Interesting question to start today off. So, done a bit of research. And yes, I add that it needs to be paid. Yeah. Everyone wants to keep and rent out. Yeah. So, yeah, I guess that might be the case. So you could pay 4 stamp duties if you sold 2 to your limited company and 2 to the other party's limited company. You pay stamp duty on all 4. But as I said, if the other party wishes, and we'll take it that you continue to own the SPV once you've divvied it up. So the other party agrees to relinquish their shares in the SPV, so you own 100% of the SPV with 2 properties in it, which of course you don't pay stamp duty on, and they pay stamp duty on their 2, but maybe you mitigate that by the cost of buying the shares, cost of buying the other party's shares in the SPV, you pay them the stamp duty on 1 property. So in other words, the net result is you each pay the stamp duty on 1 property. They own 2, and you've contributed stamp duty to 1 of them, and you own 2 in the SPV, but it's now 100% owned by you or by your limited company, and you don't pay any stamp duty on that. So that's my view, but again, I'm not a tax expert and I don't pretend to be. So there we are. Good question. Thank you very much. So here we go. So BRR Boardrooms. So those, if you're watching just now, those 4 venues: Cardiff, Leeds, Birmingham, London, doing 4 events over 2 weeks. And then no more until June. I don't run these events all year round. So if you want to be one of the 10 in each meetings, then go to brrboardroom.com. You'll find it somewhere around there under my name. Very simple. We also have 2, in the preceding weeks, we're going to have 2 Zoom sessions, pre-event Zoom sessions. What does that mean? It means that we'll do a BRR deal finder, and I'll jump live on between 7 and 9 p.m. on a Monday or Tuesday evening, and I'll show you how easy it is to find deals using what are pretty much secret filters, it seems, on Rightmove and Zoopla. So these properties are on there, but most people don't find them, and they're really excellent BRR potential deals. I did one of these in November. One of the guys present, gave me a call the following day, and he said, after it finished, I spent about an hour on Rightmove and Zoopla and found 23 potential deals. 23 potential deals. Now, that's amazing. But it just goes to show you, these are really, finding deals isn't hard. And you don't need to pay sourcers thousands of pounds to find you deals, because you can find better ones yourself once you know how to look. Now, you can pay these platform subscription fees to do some of that heavy lifting for you, but you don't need to. And I show them how to quickly, in minutes, find multiple deals that could work for BRR. You just need to negotiate them for the right price, and that's a different thing. And then we do a BRR, a couple of nights later, we'll do a pre-event evening Zoom session, BRR deal clinic. So having looked at the deals that you found, I'll analyse how they work. And then we meet up at the weekend and we have a full day of really understanding what you need to know to make BRR work. And I've got almost an endless list of case studies of people that have made, amazing incomes from BRR, buy, refurb, refinance. There we are. Hey, if you can get to Cardiff on the 18th, Leeds on the 24th, Birmingham on the 25th, London on the 31st, book yourself in at brr.com. You can have an amazing day. Here we got Steve coming in from Facebook. Hi Steve, how you doing, mate? How's that old West Country right now? It snowed in, are you? Good. Have you got a question? Or are you just saying hi? Either way, it's fine. Appreciate you watching this week. There we go. So, here we are. Now, I said to you a little while ago that buy, refurb, refinance is the most powerful, potent concept in property. And don't be calling it a strategy, because that's massively underplaying. Massively underplaying. Way massively underplaying its significance. So on Saturday, we were down in Heathrow at a 100% pitch-free networking event, which is the conference that it's safe to take your wallet to, because you can't buy anything. There's nothing for sale, nothing to pitch, no sales pitches, anything. It's just pure networking. We did whole day of networking, and that was amazing in itself, because you just talk to real people doing real deals on a real property journey. None of the BS, none of the bigging up, none of the boasting and all that type of thing, just pure networking. And the real great thing was we had 2 case studies, and the case studies were enlightening. And these are just people that I've trained, and all they're doing is implementing. I'm training some. While we're waiting for more questions, I'm going to give you a bit of background on a couple of those things, because they are really quite amazing. I've got a couple of pre-prepared notes there, so I might look at those a bit. Now, we've got Paul. Now Paul's trained with me, I think 4 or 5 years ago, I think, something like that. He's done several deals now, using bridging finance for each one. And unsold lots, you see. Now, both of the case studies, they had unsold lots. So I'm going to park that for a minute, because Steve did have a question. It wasn't just saying hi, although that would have been nice anyway. So Steve, right? Yes, Plymouth. That's right. You're in Plymouth, yeah. So how do you find blocks of flats? They're like gold dust in Plymouth. I bet they are. Okay, I'd say 2 ways. You'd probably find them on the commercial websites. So the Rightmove's got a commercial side. I think Zoopla has too, but you've got commercial websites like LoopNet and that, and usually you've also got commercial agents in Plymouth and Devon that might have them, and also they're at auction. You'd find blocks of flats at auction. So there are those things now. So that's ready-made blocks of flats, possibly vacant, possibly tenanted. But where you might find them also is not flats, but flat conversions. So one thing you've got in Plymouth, Steve, is guest houses, B&Bs, and up for sale, and they can't sell them. And they can't sell them, and they remain unsold for 1, 2 years. And the reason they do that is because the business is to a large extent cash, or maybe not quite so now, but as it was pre-COVID. But the accounts are not big enough to support a mortgage, so it's a cash buyer only situation. Now, and funny enough, at the networking meeting on Saturday, shame you couldn't be there, but I was talking to someone actually doing that. They're converting a bed and breakfast into flats, because they're already ensuite rooms anyway. You've got some of that, so you just subdivide it in. Maybe you'd get, I don't know, an 8-bedroom guest house that would convert into 3 flats. So flat conversions, B&B conversions into flats. So in other words, you create your block of flats. So I think that's. Does that help, Steve? Okay. And if you need help financing them, well, we know how to do that. So If you get a crack at one of those, let me do it. And hey, are you free this Sunday? What are you doing Sunday? Can you get up to Cardiff on Sunday? Come and do the BRR Boardroom with us. We find that interesting, really interesting. Okay, so good. What we got? Thanks for your question. I hope that helps. All right, Mel's back with another one. So if you're buying a property in an SPV with a third party, i.e. two other companies in the SPV. So there's 3 of you in it now. Okay, I think. One is using bridging, the other wish to use cash and a mortgage. Is this straightforward or not? No, you can't. Okay, you can't mix financing. So the SPV borrows the money. Okay, the other people don't borrow the money via the SPV. They either put in cash. Now, whether they put cash, real cash, or whether they got a mortgage on a property, or they use bridging on a property that they already own outside of this SPV, but the SPV can only borrow money, whether you've got one party or 3 parties, the SPV can only borrow money in its own name. And you've got to decide what that is. If it's bridging, then the SPV takes out the bridging. So, you know, what I'm understanding you're saying there is that the SPV, let's say it's 300,000, just to argument's sake. So what you're saying is one of the 3 parties says, well, I'll put in 100 grand in cash. The second party says, well, I'll take 100,000 bridging loan on the property that the SPV is buying. And the third party says, I want to get a mortgage on the property the SPV is buying. Yet that is an absolute non-starter, Mel. Absolute non-starter. Because you can only borrow one way on any given property. Yeah, if you're going to borrow 75% of the purchase price and you're going to use it on bridging, then no mortgage lender is going to lend to the SPV and vice versa. No. So each party has got to put cash in if they're going to put cash, and whether they've raised cash from their bank account, from a bridging loan on a property they already own, or a mortgage on a property they already own, they put cash into the SPV. And to the extent that they don't put cash into the SPV, the balance is borrowed on bridging finance, lent to the SPV with 3 shareholders in it. So there we are. Good question. Good question. So yeah, Paul. The mentee case study from Saturday's 100% pitch-free networking. Paul bought an unsold lot from auction. It was a housing association that were getting rid of some of their properties. It was non-standard construction. It was steel framed, and it didn't sell. It didn't sell because people were worried about getting a mortgage on a steel frame property, and with good reason actually, because depending on the who built it, actually, it may indeed not have been mortgageable, so you couldn't solve the problem. It needed a light refurb, and Paul did his due diligence and found that it actually was a mortgageable property. It needed a bit of a refurb, but there was actually nothing wrong with it. It was just people were put off by the fact it was a steel frame property. He bought it, spent some money on it, and actually got it valued at 116,000 higher than he bought it for within 4 months. And then he got a mortgage on it, which meant that within 4 months, he had a property the deposit cash was back in his bank account. The refurb money was back in his bank account. And not only that, but he had 18,000 cash back in his bank account and a property with none of his own money in. You could call it a free property if you want to call that. But he had 18 grand on top because he added so much value. Because he bought, was it what he did to it that added value? No, it was he bought it cheap. It was probably worth about 50 grand more than he paid for it in auction. And still completed on auction terms, 28 days. And there we are, got a property with none of his own cash in, 18 grand in the bank, £400 a month positive cash flow, rent over mortgage. Now that is a buy, refurb, refinance deal. And it's one of the better ones actually. But that is why buy, refurb, refinance is so powerful, because now Paul has got all his cash, actually plus 18,000 to put into his next deal. There's no other way in property you can do that. There's nothing, no other concept in property that is as powerful as buy, refurb, refinance. And that's why if you haven't attended one of these BRR Boardrooms before, that's why you should come, because I'll tell you exactly how you do deals like Paul's. There we are. Okay, so are you okay? Good. So I've confirmed what you thought, Mel. Got a meeting today to discuss a project opportunity, and I believe to be this case from your your training. Yeah, well there we are. Good. So you just wanted a bit of confirmation. You pretty much knew it already. Just want a bit of confirmation. Yeah, that's okay. Great. Well, let me know how the meeting goes and see if you got an opportunity. Good. Okay. No. And also remember, it's probably easiest if you do these deals yourself. So JVing with SPVs and bringing other people in, it's only something you do as a secondary thing, because bringing other people in can sometimes be problematic. I mean, you might know these people very well, and that could be okay, but generally it's problematic. Okay, in varying degrees. Good. So you got another question? And oh, here we go. Hey, we got Lynn also coming in from LinkedIn, but your name comes up. Now, what's the difference between you and Mel? How come you get your name shown and Mel doesn't? Interesting, eh? I think it's some sort of permission you have to do. So maybe tell Mel what you did, and then Mel can get a name on there as well. So, morning, Lynn. Nice to see you. If you want to buy a commercial property but don't have enough cash for a 30% deposit, is there another way to finance it if you have plenty of equity in your home and a rental property? Yes, there is. There is. And you know what it is because you've done my training. You've done my Ninja Investor Program training. It's cross-collateral bridging. You can borrow the 30% deposit using either the equity in your rental property or your home, or a combination of both. So, yep, that's very doable. And I'd love to help you on it. And you know I help you on it because you're in my training community. So you just have to ask me, and I run my eyes over your deal, which again is very valuable, isn't it? And there we are. Oh, you got no clue how your name comes up. Oh, okay then. Well, there we are. Oh, and neither have I, and probably neither has Mel either. So there we are. Good. So yeah, absolutely doable, Lynn. And you'll know Trinity in the brokerage. I know you've talked to her before. So she'll take you through the actual numbers of how to make that work. Yeah. So while we're waiting for another question, I do want to tell you about the other mentee case study, because this is inspirational. In fact, it was such a good case study, it won an award at the right. So you don't want your name coming up there, Mel? Right. Okay. Well, that's fair enough. I understand that. But you could use your company name. Can you ask a question through a page on LinkedIn? I don't know. Maybe you can. But yeah, okay. I respect your desire for privacy. No worries. So yeah, Nilesh's case was good enough to win an award at the prestigious Property Investors Awards night in November. And what award did he win? He won Auction Deal of the Year. The judges felt from the people that entered to become Auction Deal of the Year, his one was the best. And why? Because it didn't throw a lot of money at it to make the improvement, but he made a 375,000 uplift in value by just re-engineering the structure of the property. Now, and it cost him $3,000. Okay, he got a bit of stamp duty and all of that sort of stuff. But actually, to make 75 grand uplift in value, yeah, cost about $3,000, which is ridiculously cheap. What did he do? He bought unsold lot at an auction. It was a mixed-use commercial. 3 shops on the ground floor, 2 flats above. 2 flats were tenanted. 2 of the shops were tenanted. 1 shop was vacant. So how did he make £375,000? He split the titles of the 2 flats, and he put a tenant in the shop. And the uplift in value from the separate titles, then he got a mortgage on each of the flats, and he got a commercial mortgage, buy-to-let mortgage on each of the flats, commercial mortgage on the 3 shops. The value went up by £375,000. And all he did was pay a commercial letting agent to find a tenant for the shop and pay a solicitor to create 2 leases. Now, that's smart. And where'd you learn to do stuff like that? At my training, because I trained Nilesh 10 years ago in 2016. Very smart guy. Very, very fond of Nilesh. Paul's pretty nice too. So 2 amazing case studies. And do you know what? Everyone I spoke to in that room on Saturday said they were inspired. And they felt that, well, if these guys can do that, I can do that. This is not, ridiculously complex or way accelerated ways of doing property. It's just straightforward. You just have to understand what you're doing. And they did, because I told them. And there we are. So Lynn says, fabulous, thanks. You're a bit rusty and you need to recap a few things. Well, hey, and do you know the best thing about that is that's why you've got access to all my training on video. All you got to do is go back in to Fast Funding Formula and watch the section in that module on cross-collateral bridging, and you can refresh your memory. You can do that today. You won't be rusty. And then I'll coach you. You need any help on it, I'll coach you through it. Let me know. That's what I do with my mentees. So all good. So I reckon we're about done. Unless you've got a question, then I'm going to be off. And I'll be back next week. Yeah, we'll be back next week. So there we are. And have a great week. So I'm setting up this week, ready for the BRR Boardrooms. That's my plan. There we are. If you want to be part of BRR Boardroom, go to the link there. brrboardroom.com. Very simple. Yeah, Lynn's going to do that. Great, Lynn. Good stuff. Okay, guys, I reckon we're about done. So I'm going to wrap up, and I'll see you next Monday. Same place. Have a fabulous week.